Good morning. I'm Alan Ibbotson, your host of Wisdom You Didn't Ask For But Certainly Can't Lead Without, WYDAF Live, and this show is all about helping you wise up at work by bringing you the wisdom you didn't ask for but certainly can't lead without, with the help of my brilliant, esteemed guests. And my guest this week needs absolutely no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. So John Edelman is our guest this week, and he is the brand new CEO, owner, and president of Hella Inc., which is the home of iconic accessible design for the home. He's also the executive chairman of Crypton Fabrics. He sits on the Chilewich Board of Directors. And if you know John, you know that he is widely respected, admired as a pioneer and a visionary in the world of design. He has led the turnaround of Design Within Reach. He has sold more than one company, at least two, maybe more. What I love about John, apart from the fact that he's my great friend, is that he has a great philosophy of doing well by doing good. And if you know John, then you know that that is true through his work with DIFA, for example, the Gordon Parks Foundation, and his latest side hustle, which is Gay Vodka, Fourth and Pride, which donates a portion of proceeds to the LGBTQ plus community. So thank you, John, for that, and happy Pride. I have learned a lot about leadership by watching John in action. And it's one thing to have a vision, but it is quite another to get people to come with you and then live up to that promise of success and sharing that success with others. And John is famous for doing all of that with focus, with determination, a big smile, and a giant heart. So I could go on, but I know that you just want to see him, so I'm going to bring him on. John, where are you?
I'm here, baby.
Here, baby.
Thank you for having me,
man. Oh, I'm so thrilled you're here.
Love seeing you, my friend.
I love seeing you too. So you're coming to us from Westport this morning, right?
Yes, on a little bit of a rainy day, but close by.
It's miserable, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm in your old hometown, as you know. I'm up in Ridgefield. So
I know.
Cheers to you and good morning.
Cheers in Hellerware.
Cheers. Cheers in Heller. So we've got so much to talk about. And as you know, this is the show about leadership. I want to say congratulations on your doctorate. I know you were awarded an honorary doctorate recently.
Can you believe the guy that failed French 1 3 times got an honorary doctorate? So,
That'd be so great. I love it.
Everybody gets their due in their time if they keep working.
That is wonderful. I loved hearing about that. And your commencement speech, by the way, was superb. So if you haven't seen that, go to YouTube and check that out. And watch John give his commencement speech, which I will ask you about actually as well. But I know that you recently bought Hella Inc., and you've taken over as the CEO and president. But if we backtrack a little bit, the story of you and Hella and Alan Hella, the founder, is a really interesting one that people might not know, and I think is really, a great way to sort of kick off this show because it really is about leadership. So I wondered if you'd tell that story for us.
Yeah, so in 2010, when we bought Design Within Reach, there was a beautiful or interesting article, wasn't beautiful, in the New York Times about John McPhee and I coming in to run and take over Design Within Reach. And the first page of the article had no pictures of us, but had a huge picture of Alan Heller holding up the iconic Bellini chair. And the title of the article was, "Is a Solution Within Reach?" And Alan was in the big picture because he was suing Design Within Reach for copying his iconic chair. To make matters worse, not only did Design Within Reach copy it, but they called it the Alonzo as a little tick to Alan. And he was suing people individually, he was suing the company, and that was the first thing we kind of walked into. We were in San Francisco, that's where the company was, and our first trip back to New York, we had a meeting with Alan at his Fifth Avenue showroom. And he should have been the enemy as we walked in. And I can tell you, we walked in as if he was our best friend. He was right in the lawsuit. They shouldn't have copied him. He was a man who stood up and fought for design. And we became friends, and we immediately flushed all the goods out of the stores. Not even through the stores. We pushed them to the outlet. Didn't sell any online, and put his products back in and featured them, and did really well. He became a friend, and he stayed a friend. And he had a little deli across the street on Fifth called Eisenberg's Deli, which is like Alan's famous spot to take people for lunch. And he had a sardine sandwich, which was disgusting. And he watched John and I eat, and he was amazed at how much corned beef John McPhee and I could put down in about 45 minutes. He commented on it a lot. And he became a great friend. I always said, Alan, we can double your business. We can triple your business. Just do X, X, and X. And he literally wasn't interested. He really didn't care about money. And then when I left Design Within Reach, I was like, Alan, I have a fantasy about buying your company. I want to buy your company. And he just said, you'll have to deal with my widow. Always said the same thing. And then he got sick, unfortunately. And even when he was sick, we were having lunch. I'd bring my daughter in. And then he passed. And I ended up, unfortunately or fortunately, dealing with his widow. And he died sticking to his guns. He had threatened to bury himself with all the molds, which would have been a bummer. But luckily, he didn't get that far. But you mentioned the different things I've done charitably. I'm also on the board and permanent ambassador to Be Original Americas. So not only did we get those knockoffs out of the stores, but we became spokespeople in the fight for authenticity in design. And I would take Alan to those meetings. I would feature him. I'd make beautiful speeches about him that he couldn't hear because he didn't bring his hearing aids. But it ended up all good. And it was, sometimes when people criticize you or they're against your company or things like that, sometimes they're right. And I didn't do those things that he was suing us for, but he was right, and it ended up working out.
And it sounds like that was just an instinctive reaction for you, rather than sort of fighting that or sort of looking for what your argument was. It sounds like that was just instinctive to you to just do the right thing.
Yeah, well, I think honestly, if they're right and you fight something that's right, it's a waste of time. They were copying his chair. It's the worst thing you can do. I come from the leather business, and leather is like murky. You can say different things, and it's always kind of a sideshow. But we had the best, and we had to explain why. So you can't copy, you can't imitate. You have to do things the right way.
You do, and that really, I guess, laid the foundation and the platform for what you then built with Design Within Reach, which was to really reach out to the design community and to rebuild that business through original design, new designs, as opposed to just sort of relying on the classics, right?
Exactly. You can't really run the business we ran just selling 60-year-old designs. And also, it wasn't very profitable. So we worked with designers from all over the world. I think what was different about us was we told their stories. We didn't have private label. We had, Cleaner Atlason, who raced motorcycles in France before moving to New York, where he switched to dirt bikes, because with dirt bikes, you break your arm, you don't get killed. And we told their personal stories first. Then we told some, specifics about the furniture, but it was always the romance behind the design and the reason for the design. And we were the only platform to tell the designer stories. We mailed 1 million catalogs a month. We featured always the designer first. And that was a great vehicle.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but that catalog was just, anyone subscribed to that catalog was looking forward to it every time it came, because there were just the most amazing stories in there.
People used to say, we look forward to receiving your magazine. And that was always the best compliment. And that's not my skill set. I can't build a catalog, although, we reviewed every inch of it. But I had an amazing team that was so passionate about modern design. And we were very, very strict about staying to modern as our theme. Modern is forever. It's not necessarily, mid-century modern. Most mid-century modern is gone, right? Only like a small percentage of mid-century modern became modern. Modern is designed in 1750 and in 2022. And we fought like hell to create the next generation of modern product.
And you pulled it off.
I think we did. Everybody seemed happy at the time.
Yeah.
But it was, it was 7 days a week, man.
Yeah. But I think there's something interesting to me about that, which is, the design, the modern piece is, essential, obviously, to the success, but the story is also important. And to me, storytelling and leadership is really critical. So, and I know that this has been a big part of your success as a leader. I wonder if you just speak a little bit about the importance of story and how you have led your own success? I'm trying to put my ears back in. I'm sorry.
I think stories let people understand they're a part of something bigger. Like if I had 800 employees in the field selling lounge chairs, that's one experience. But if the lounge chairs are designed by Egg Collective in Brooklyn, 3 women that met in college and formed their own business and had a mission to design, iconic product from the start, but it was too expensive, and we work with them to create an affordable alternative to reach our customer. That's an experience, and that's where people feel bigger than themselves, and they feel proud to know these stories, and we train to know these stories. And if every level of your business understands the stories, you're not just in the furniture business, you're in the romance business, and that keeps people devoted. And we ran tests, at every level of the business, so people know why they're doing their job. And we may have failed in other areas, but in that respect, people knew why they went to work. They knew what they were doing. They knew why they were doing it, and that meant a lot.
Yeah, it's so interesting you say that, because you were talking about it from the perspective of the consumer when you sort of started talking there, but you ended with the employees, right? The people who work there. And I talk a lot in my own work as a leadership coach and trainer about the power of purpose, right? Daniel Pink says we're looking for autonomy, mastery, and purpose. We don't want to be managed. We want to be led. We want to keep learning. And we want to feel that we're contributing to something bigger than ourselves. And it feels to me like that is something that, whether by accident or by design, you have been practicing for a long time.
It was by necessity. So it's not necessarily like on purpose. The larger organizations that you run, the more you have to delegate and give people autonomy. If you're running a mom and pop shop, you can afford to not delegate anything. Do what I say, do it this way, and never vary. And you can have success. We had great success at Edelman Leather, really kind of running it like a fiefdom, an autocracy. And it was a smaller business. And remember the story, create the romance, but we ran the show. We made every decision. At Design Within Reach, you have people everywhere across the country. You have people at every level. You have different teams doing imaginative things on different days, and very, very creative and very different. If you didn't give them power, first of all, they'd leave. And second of all, they do it better than you. Like, I couldn't do the things that they were doing, and I had to take a deep breath, release and turn over to them, and work alongside them, and not, every night when they do the photo shoot, picking apart every little thing, but working with them to always, make sure that everything they do is for the greater good of the business and to the theme of the business. Tiny businesses are one thing, larger businesses are totally different, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree with you more, but creating that connection between the day-to-day job and the overall purpose, and kind of giving that story and purpose, is so key, right?
Yes. That's why, I would say, if you can speak in superlatives and tell the truth, you've won. And if someone can stand up straight and say, we have the largest collection of, whatever in the world, we have the quickest turnaround, the biggest stock, we are the only people focused on this. Those are amazing, powerful words if you're telling the truth. And I believe that in every business that we've run, we'll be able to say those things.
Yeah, and it's a fine line, isn't it, between superlatives and hyperbole, right?
It's a fine line, but if you have to believe what you're saying. And I love the fact that 67% of all statistics are false. So like people play with those kind of numbers, and you hear the hard sellers saying, what if I told you can increase sales by 97? That's hyperbole. And authentic stories are what makes the world go around. I always told the people pay millions of dollars to create the stories that we have that are authentic. Like, when you can tell the stories of Charles and Ray Eames and Cranbrook and the Royal Danish Academy and all these different things, and tell the truth, oh my goodness. When Jeffrey Burnett, really did race different designers that rode motorcycles, and broke his bone, so he had to develop a lounge chair to make himself comfortable. And he dreamed that when he was in the airport lounges, they were better, and this chair was meant for that. And that's a true story. That's kind of cool. It's actually really cool.
It is really cool.
Yeah.
We got Marty's here.
Hello, Marty.
Here. We got some great comments in the coming on here. Patty, Patty was friends with Alan Heller. Welcome, Patty. Thanks for joining us. It's very exciting, of course, that you're doing this. So, John, tell us a little bit about Heller and what's going on, and what your plans are and where we can find it.
So Alan Heller was an interesting guy in business, and he had one employee, Tashana, who's still with us, and that was it. So, and he was sick. So Tashana processed the orders. She didn't know when they were getting new product. Alan didn't really return phone calls. I'll just go a little background. Supreme did an amazing collection with us 2 years ago, sold out in a day and a half with the Hellerware cups, and they just never called them back. So I think, right, the first thing we did was call people back and kind of say, Heller's here.
Yeah.
The second thing was check in with all our retailers. We have amazing retail partners out there that weren't getting any information. Just literally updating delivery information. We solidified supply of raw materials with our factories. We have an amazing promotional vehicle, the Volkswagen Bus 1977. Hashtag Heller on Wheels to get the brand out there in New York during this. Oh, there you go. Just happened to have a shot. On top of the Gary Cubes, we met with Frank Gehry, went with Mario and Claudio Bellini. We met with the Vignelli family. We got to all the designers on board with us for the future. We're going to NeoCon, which is the largest trade show in the world for office interiors. We actually took a showroom. It's being decked out right now. And we were going to hire one sales team. We have 8 sales teams now across the country that'll start during NeoCon, which is unbelievable. The bus will be parked in front of NeoCon, the merchandise mart, with my daughter. Olivia will be out there giving away Heller bags in the morning for all the people coming in. It's a family affair. And, this has been 4 weeks. And we're running at full speed. We have already worked with designers to create new product, as we need new product to keep everything exciting. So in the next 6 to 8 months, we'll have launches. Hopefully have launches, once a year. And our website is up. We can actually take orders on the website. We have an e-commerce site. Poor Andrew McPhee has been scratching his hair out getting that all done. And yeah, man. So there's been no downtime. It's exciting. It's really exciting. And we're 3 people for the most part right now. We have Kevin Cleary as head of sales, Andrew McPhee as head of operations. We have one more new person coming in, a godsend, a data-driven genius coming in mid-June. And we're going to keep it tight, but fun. And everyone's going to know everything. When I say be an expert, we're all going to know each other's jobs. And we're going to keep it lean, but very exciting and see how it goes.
This is awesome. I mean, this is a different kind of challenge for you, isn't it? It seems, because if I think back to what you've done, you took over your family's business, built it, sold it to Noel. You took a fire sale business that was in a deep trouble, turned it around, sold it to Herman Miller. Then as a side hustle, you went off and launched some vodka and sold it to us gays. And now you're doing this. So this is like seems like a different kind of challenge from the ones you've had before. Is it a conscious decision for you to kind of go and do something like this now?
It was super conscious decision to run a simpler business. But in some ways, it's extremely similar to the others besides scale. It's a brand that is way ahead of the core business. And we can see a path forward to bring, not only to make the brand even bigger, but to catch the business up to the brand. And I think that's what John McPhee and I have done multiple times. I did it on the board of Waterworks in the day when we bought Waterworks back and grew that. And I think I didn't inherit a team. That would be the big difference. But I have great people from my past that have joined on and believe in the mission. So, yeah, it's different because of the scale, but we're going to grow very quickly. Edelman Leather, when I joined, when I first started, my sister was $3 million in volume and losing money. And we turned that into $70 million, making a lot of money in, less than 10 years. So I think this is probably more similar to that.
Yeah. Wow. This is, it's so exciting. You have mentioned, hey, John, good morning.
Hey, John Alfaro.
And we actually getting some great comments. Beth Dickstein just is in Milan saying hello. And people are really happy to see you, John.
Co-founder of Be Original Americas.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And a phenomenal person. 5 foot tall and 7 foot personality. Unbelievable how much we love Beth Dickstein. Huge friend of mine and help to me.
Thanks for joining us, Beth. And you were one of the first people to sign up for this as soon as you heard about it. So welcome. You mentioned John McPhee a couple of times. And I know that that's been a really important partnership for you. And I know that you've spoken about that before, but I'm kind of interested in the angle on what makes a great partnership, and how you complement each other and how that works for you, what the secret of that success is, John.
I think first of all, we like each other, and we have huge respect for each other's skills, and they don't overlap that much. Like we always said, John can do my job, I could do his, but we're better at our own. And we don't argue with each other about the things that we're good at. If I want to go out and work with designers and create a new collection of outdoor furniture and launch it this date and pick these people, he's God bless. And if he wants to torture a landlord on the lease and make me sweat and walk the deal, I always follow him. Two, oftentimes in life, 1 + 1 = 3. And if you can find that, you have to cherish it and nurture it. So John is an investor in Heller. I'm an investor in Chilewich, where he's the CEO. So we're tied together at the hip as always. But I can tell you, I wouldn't have gotten the honorary doctorate. I wouldn't be on the podcast, I don't believe, if John and I hadn't met 30 years ago. And we do much better together than apart. So it's not common in life that happens.
So, but you also must have been through some really challenging, decisions, inflection points.
We flew to California January 4th, 2010 to take over Design Within Reach. We walked into a room of, 70 people that looked like we were, the worst people in the world. They didn't know us. They didn't trust us. They thought we were going to fire everybody. We were told to fire everybody and close it down and move it. That was the general consensus that people didn't know that they were doing. And then over a month or two, we realized it was the greatest group of people I ever met, and that they knew what to do and weren't allowed to have done it prior. And we let them go free, and they saved a company. And I think we talked about this in the pre-interview, but when 6 months in, John and I held a company meeting in San Francisco and told the entire company, thank you so much. We've learned so much from you. We're moving the company to Connecticut from San Francisco, but anybody who would like to move with us is invited to move, and you'll have the job. We didn't have much money to pay them, moving expenses. So we said, you have Design Within Each product. It's worth money. Go on Craigslist, sell it, and we'll give you 80 off at the outlet when you get back. You can refurnish your apartment. We had some $2,000 or some small number to give them to move cross country. And, literally 50% of the company moved with us. And I've never had an emotional experience like that in business. They believed, they picked up their belongings and moved from San Francisco to Stamford, Connecticut, and helped us rebuild something special. They felt they were part of something bigger. Design Within Reach meant something bigger. It was the guardian of modern, and they believed in our vision for it. And we were able to articulate that vision. And even if you read that original New York Times article before we'd even stepped foot in the office, that's what we did. We executed that vision. We did everything we said. And, thank God it worked.
It did work, and the rest is history. And Marty just says the importance of developing and maintaining relationships throughout your career, including building trust, of course, with the team. It sounds like you've learned a lot from the team as much as from John, for instance.
They were amazing, and because I didn't know those things. This was a new world. John and I had been working with retailers. John was a retailer, young in life, but this was retail. We brought what we knew from the past. Edelman Leather was 100% to the trade. So Design Within Reach went from 2% trade to 40% trade and developed a contract division. We made great friends with the vendors that are my friends today. I've been consulting with a lot of them over the past 3 years, consulting with competition. I don't remember what the question was, but that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So one of the things that you said in your commencement speech just last week, a few days ago, was whoever asked the most questions wins. And I know that was one of 4 things. So talk a little bit about why that whole message was important to you, to this group of graduates.
for me, they're about to graduate in a field that they chose and love, and that's very rare. The New York School of Interior Design, they all graduated with a degree in interior design, whether they're going to do hospitality or healthcare or residential. I think it's amazing to identify your passion early on. But my concept was that the day after graduation, they had to learn in a different way. No longer would they have formal teachers. They're going to have to fight to learn. So the first section, you want to go through the 4 sections?
Yeah, I'd love it.
So the first section was say yes. And when you get to a new place, location, location, location. If you want to work for Jamie Drake and there's no assistant position, take the janitorial position, get in the door. And I said, do any job they ask. And whether it's emptying the garbage, when you empty the garbage, look inside. Are they throwing away samples? Like what's going on? And become needed. And you'll learn that way. Next was, you use that. And number 2 was become an expert. You can't do your job unless you're an expert. And I told them, go visit fabric mills, furniture factories, whatever it takes to learn your industry and be able to speak with authority in that industry. The next section was, if you can speak in superlatives and tell the truth, you've won. And in every job, I told them, do something that's the best, whether it's one custom piece, one of a kind, from a flea market. It doesn't have to be expensive, but do one thing that you can speak in superlatives and people can't argue. And in the end, don't sell them. Define what they need and then provide the service. Whoever asks the most questions wins. And I illustrate that with a long story about someone doing the best presentation I've ever seen on a lounge and ottoman, yet the client wanted a bed. So like really listen. I think these people become your therapists at interior designer oftentimes. They have to know what to do. But I think it applies to any business. Stop selling. Find out what the need is and serve it. And that's the mindset. And that comes from being an expert. That comes from saying yes. It comes from speaking in superlatives, and it comes from asking the most questions. And it works every single time.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, running a consulting business as I do, working as a coach and as a trainer, I often get asked to deliver things that I cannot be sure are based on the actual need. It might just be the want or the perception of the need. And I don't deliver something great for the client unless I really know what it is that they actually need. And the only way I'm going to find that out is by asking questions. And so I agree with you. I think that consultative approach where you can really help them understand their own need and what it is that they're looking for and how that will benefit them. If you can do that, then yes, you will win. Then you don't have to sell anything.
Define the problem and fix it. That's not sales.
Yeah, it's not sales. It's problem solving. It's relationship building. Absolutely, couldn't agree more. Have you ever had a coach, John? Have you ever had a coach? Yeah.
I did in 1988 and 89. Dr. Gary Peterson in San Francisco, California. And I was, working for my brother, and my brother loved this guy and I loved him. And he gave me those tests where you see what you're good at and this and that. And I never forget, I finished the time and we didn't have much follow-up. And I took him aside and I said, listen, I just have to know, am I smart? I was 21 years old, and you go through these battery of tests and you have no idea who you are or what you're good at yet. And then we had a beautiful woman that worked for us for years that you've met, Jocelyn Kung, who was our kind of in-house HR that acted as a kind of a coach, but not in a long time. But I'm challenged. I was challenged all the time. And we go back to the partnership question. When you have a good partner and you're constantly challenged, it does provide some coaching.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I've always admired about you is that you are the epitome of a lifelong learner, to me. Right?
Yeah, my dad
is essential if you're going as a leader, and your dad was like that too. Yeah,
my dad. The first thing he'd say when we come home from work, "What'd you learn today?" And if you didn't learn, it was kind of a bad day. If you did learn, even if negative things happened, it was still a good day. And that's evolution. Yeah. You have to learn every day and realize, the smartest people admit they don't know anything. And they're constantly asking questions and constantly trying to understand, and constantly shifting a little bit, and adapting to the needs.
Yeah. You know who else tells stories like that is Sarah Blakely. I don't know if you've ever watched Sarah Blakely talk. She's the CEO of Spanx.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so she talks a lot about that, about how her father would say to them, what mistakes, what mistakes, what did you do wrong today, and what can you learn from that? And so that was a lesson that was ingrained in her and her brother, like from very early on, so that mistakes were opportunities to learn, etc. They wouldn't, be too disappointed with themselves or whatever. They would be able to extract the lessons from it.
Well, we used to encourage people to make mistakes, just make small ones.
Yeah.
Make a lot of small mistakes and make the big decisions correctly. That just comes from watching your business. And if you're free to acknowledge your mistakes, then you're free to remedy them. And that was always that's hard to learn. It takes a little time, but it gives them more freedom to experiment, and you're going to find better things. And we talked about being wrong. It's fun to be wrong sometimes. If it benefits you in the end, admit you're wrong and then move on at every level. And I've had to do it multiple times. And it's always a hair painful, just a little bit. Then you experience the joy of learning what to do and do it right, and the success that comes with doing it right.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I just got a. There you go.
This guy wrote, "Love this conversation. If you're the smartest person in the room, find another room." I tend to agree, and I never trust people that would come to me and say, "Yeah, I like you. You're the smartest guy in the room." That was always a sign of like, beware of that guy.
Yeah. So John, if I were to come and work for you and be like your number two, I'm not going to. Don't worry, I'm not going to sort of send you my resume. I got a day job, so you're safe. But if I was to want to come and work for you, and I was to impress you with my own leadership, right, as your number two in the organization, what would I be doing that would impress you?
I think you'd be humble, about your accomplishments. I think you'd be confident in your presentation, and I think I'm always the worst because I end up just having these long conversations with people that I interview, and I always want to know if you're doing something different. Like, do you have hobbies? Do you have an outside passion besides what you're doing? And I think that always leaks back into the business and makes it stronger. So I think if you're a passionate person with interesting, different talents than my own, and have a track record, you fit right in. I think if you don't have passions, if you don't care if you're working with widgets, or Corbusier, I think it's usually not the best fit. And I don't care if I'm in the design business or not, passion still plays a part. I had great guys in the warehouse that were passionate about baseball, and they could memorize every statistic, and they could talk about it with just great enthusiasm. I ended up liking baseball because of them. And it made them, in my opinion, better at their jobs. They were able to apply their passion to keeping track of the Hyde numbers or wherever it's going to be. They can relate it to their own lives. That was always a positive thing. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I think you have to be interested in other things.
Yeah, and you have a passion for many things: cars, watches,
furniture.
Yeah. What if my passion is TV? I think you can always rely on Marty for a great quip.
Yeah, but that the great Jay Leno always said he got in trouble because all he did was watch TV, and look what happened. So I think sometimes it's okay.
Sometimes it's okay. What is the quickest way to piss you off, John, at work? Like, what are the things that you just turn you off at work in terms of
push someone who comes in with an extremely strong belief and pushes very hard and doesn't have the data to back it up. Opinions are fine, but don't come to the CEO of a company with opinions without data, and don't fight for it. If you really believe something, back it up. Or if you don't have the right data, say, listen, this is my idea. Just letting you know, I'm going to go research and see what it means. That's fine. But don't push an idea without the backup. It's just not right. And that always upsets me. And it can lead you down the wrong direction, because if there's a pattern of that, you're going to make a pattern of wrong decisions.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot to really upset me, but that's one of those things.
I would imagine I've rarely seen you upset. Yeah, it's that being attached to being right as opposed to being attached to being effective.
Right. That's not a conversation. If you're attached to being right, you can't have a conversation. Now, listen, if you've done the research and you believe wholeheartedly with all the backup and we don't agree, I'm probably still going to go with you. If you've created a great case, and we'll see what happens, we'll monitor it. And that's one of those cases where if I'm wrong, fantastic. You taught me something and we changed how we're going to do things. But data is key.
Data is key. And your next hire is a data person, it seems, at Heller. So
that's correct. So we know what we're doing.
You know what you're doing.
Data keeps the ship sailing in a straight line.
It's a data world for sure. That's absolutely right. So, John, we're almost at the end. Just remind people where they can find you, because I know that you're out there now with Heller and
really www.hellerfurniture.com. Also, the bus is available at hashtag Heller on Wheels. We'll be at NeoCon in about a week, showing for the first time in years, and we'll be bouncing around the country, making it easy to access Heller furniture.
I cannot wait to see what you do next. This is so exciting. I know people are absolutely thrilled. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I wish you great success with this not new, but certainly exciting venture. And I know that everyone else feels the same. So thanks for joining me, John. That's it, everybody. We are out of time. Thank you for joining us. You can find us hashtag WYDAF on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, all the things. This was the last show in this season of WYDAF Live, but we will be back in the fall. So I look forward to seeing you then. In the meantime, have a great summer.